All right, so you know how sometimes you need like a quick roadmap of a country's history? Well, you guys sent in this timeline of India's milestones, and that's exactly what we're going for today. We're
Yeah.
pulling out the most important periods and events, just to get a solid grasp of how India developed over literally thousands of years.
Right, like a crash course, but hitting all the high points.
Exactly, without getting bogged down in every little detail.
Mm.
So consider this your express lane to the really pivotal moments in India's story.
Absolutely. A fast track to understanding how we got to where we are today.
So let's jump right into the beginning around 2500 BCE with the Indus Valley Civilization. It says here, first urban cultures. I mean, what's the significance of that, really?
Well, the interesting thing is it wasn't just like scattered settlements or anything. We're talking planned cities, like sophisticated infrastructure, drainage systems, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, a level of organization that really sets the stage for everything that comes after. It shows
Mm.
that early ingenuity on the subcontinent.
So already pretty advanced for the time period.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so then we move on to about 1500 BCE with the arrival of the Aryans and the Vedic Age. How did this shape things moving forward?
Well, if you connect this to the bigger picture, this period laid the foundation for so much of Indian society, religion, beliefs, languages, even flowing. It all starts evolving here.
Right.
It's really a fundamental layer for understanding later cultural developments.
Okay, so then around 570 BCE, we see the age of Buddha and Mahavira. Why is this era so crucial?
Well, this is interesting. It makes you think about the societal and spiritual norms at the time, right? Because suddenly you have Buddhism and Jainism offering totally different paths, challenging the existing Vedic traditions. And that leads to some huge changes in Indian thought and philosophy. And, those changes still resonate today.
It's really fascinating how these ideas from so long ago can still be so relevant.
Absolutely. It speaks to their lasting impact.
So then around 327 BCE, we have Alexander the Great's invasion, followed by the Mauryan Empire. What's the main takeaway for us from this period, with this external contact and the building of this huge empire?
Well, Alexander's invasion, even though it was brief, really opened up trade and cultural exchange with those Greek-influenced civilizations further west. But the Mauryan Empire, particularly under Ashoka, that marks the first time a really large part of India was unified under a single ruler.
Yeah.
And with that came established administrative practices, a sense of centralized power. It was really influential for centuries.
It's amazing how these early empires set the stage for how regions are governed for centuries.
Oh, for sure. You see those patterns repeating.
And then the timeline goes into a whole bunch of different dynasties. From about 185 BCE to 1200 CE, it mentions Sungas, Guptas, Cholas, so many. It seems like a lot of back and forth across different regions. And we also see St. Thomas arriving around 52 CE. What's happening in this period?
Yeah, you're right. Tons of different groups vying for power. But even with all these regional powers, the Gupta period stands out. It's often called a golden age.
I've heard that.
Yeah, they had massive advancements in science, art, literature.
Yeah.
And St. Thomas arriving, that's an early sign of the long history of diverse religious influences in India.
Right, from all over.
Exactly.
So then we get to the invasions and sultanates from around 998 to 1526. We have Mahmud Ghazni Muhammad Gur and the Delhi Sultanate. This feels like a huge shift in the north. And then at the same time, the Vijayanagara and Bahmani kingdoms are thriving in the south.
Yeah. This is when you really see the establishment of Islamic rule in northern India. New architectural styles, administrative systems, cultural interactions. It's a major turning point. And the strength of those southern kingdoms at the same time shows, how much regional dynamism there was.
Yeah.
Different parts of India had distinct cultural paths.
So it wasn't just one thing happening across the whole subcontinent?
Nope, definitely not. Things were happening in parallel.
Right. Then we come to the Mughal Empire, starting in 1526 with Babur, and then you have Akbar's reign. This is considered another peak period, right? And around the same time, Europeans are starting to arrive, Da Gama in 1498, and then the British East India Company in 1600. Plus, we have the founding of Sikhism and the Maratha Kingdom. So much happening all at once.
It's really a pivotal time. So much change. The Mughals consolidate another massive empire. And under Akbar, you see this really interesting cultural synthesis happening. But at the same time, the seeds of future change are being planted. The European trading companies, Sikhism, the Marathas, it's all happening at once.
It's like the calm before the storm in a way.
You could say that,
Yeah.
definitely a time of transition.
So finally, we reach British rule and independence from 1857 to 1950, the First War of Independence, Gandhi Partition, and finally the Republic. This is the culmination of modern India's story.
Yeah, this period is all about the struggle for self-rule. It's a complex story with all these social and political movements, But ultimately, it leads to the birth of independent India.
So we've covered a lot of ground. From ancient urban planning to a modern republic, it's pretty amazing to see this long and sometimes turbulent journey laid out like this.
It really is. It gives you a new appreciation for the depth and complexity of Indian history.
It definitely does. So I have one final thought for you as we wrap up. Considering this whole timeline, what single event or period do you think was most fundamental in shaping modern India and why? It's something to think about as you continue exploring this incredible history.
That's a great question. I'll leave that with our listeners to ponder.
All right, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into India's fascinating history.
It's been a pleasure.
Till next time.
See you then.